Hey, I want to talk about how we can use diminished chords much the same way we can use the 5 chord. They're kind of brother and sister. You could even argue they're inversions of one another. But like the 5 chord, its key function, harmonically speaking, is to introduce some instability into the chord progression, some instability that you'd want to resolve, or a sense of restlessness you'd want to resolve. So it's a good device for adding, some tension, adding some interest to an otherwise like boring chord progression, or a way of acting as kind of like an intermediary between two restful chords, or any chords for that matter. It has a way of wanting to lead the ear towards a certain tone. So I want to just relate it to the 5 chord, and I did a video here on the 5 chord where I talk about using the 5 chord as not only a resolution mechanism to get back to the 1, but that each of the chords in the Nashville number system, if you will, they can all use their own 5 chord, and what that means is, and you should watch the video to see a full description, but ultimately what it means is you can kind of prefix any chord with a 5 chord, 1/5 away from that goal chord you're heading towards, that you're aiming to resolve to. Even if the chord you're resolving to isn't a fully stable, restful chord, it's not the point. It leads the ear to that sound. And I want to show you how the diminished chord does the same thing. It just gives you an alternative to what, another option that may just have some different color. And you just need to try it out as an option for creating some tension in your chord progressions. So I'm going to take a really simple chord progression, and maybe I've exhausted the 1-4-5 progression, and I'll go with something really simple like let's say let's use a 3-2-1 progression in the key of G major. And so that would mean we have and I have another video too on the Nashville number system and how you find out what those chords are, but I'll just break it down for you. That would mean we'd have a B minor, we'd have the 2 chord, which is an A minor, and then we'd have our 1 chord, which is a G major. Okay, really simple chord movement, not super exciting. And I'm just playing the one, the chord tones from those. I could play it. Maybe that's easier. But that's our basic progression, and I want to so using the 5 chords, the way you prefix these, let's say I wanted to prefix the 2 chord and the 5 chord, what I would do is I would play, so I'd play the 3 chord, and then I would prefix the 2 chord with the 5 of the 2 chord, which would be, and then I would play the 5 of the 1, which is a natural 5. So already that progression sounds more, maybe there's more frequency of tension being added. So I want to show you how I might play that using this diminished idea, and that and basically I want to show you that you can pretty much use a diminished chord a half step behind your goal chord and create a very similar kind of tension that needs to be resolved. So using that same progression, so we're in the key of G major, we're playing a 3-2-1 progression. I'm going to prefix the 2 chord and the 1 chord with a diminished chord and show you how it creates some tension there. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is and how it's similar to the 5 chord. And that's probably pretty obvious to some of you. To others, maybe not. So here I go. So if this is my 3 chord, if my goal chord is the 2, I'm going to prefix it with the G sharp diminished chord. And I'm going to play my 2 chord. Now I'm going to play an F sharp diminished. And I'm going to play my 1 chord. So I kind of get this, whereas before I had the 5s, I'm getting a chordal sound that's more like, and I'm gonna emphasize the tritones here, and you'll see what I mean. So here's my 3 chord, and here is my, I'm just playing this, the 1 and the flat 5. You can sort of hear how they function the same, right? I'll play the arpeggio version of that. I'll play the chordal version of that. Not sure if the speaker's picking that up, but it's another option to use as it's kind of one of these like use anywhere type of chords. And basically all you have to do is prefix the chord you're trying to move towards with a diminished chord a half step behind, and you'll create some tension. It may not be as it may be it'll add a bit of variety to those tension pieces, and you know, versus your typical 5 chord approach to creating tension. And you can mix and match these things. So for example, I might take that same progression and really mix and match this by saying, let's play the 3 chord, okay, and let's play a diminished chord a half step behind the 2 chord, play the 2 chord, and then play the 5 chord to get to my 1 chord. I'm hoping, I don't know if that made any sense. It's just another option. And I think what I'll do in a subsequent video is show you how that, there's some interesting things that happen with diminished chords, in that they can not only, you know, it's very obvious, where our ears are very used to hearing a diminished chord resolve to a chord that's got a half step above, but it's because this chord can sort of occupy multiple positions at once, and I'll get to that in another video. It can be used to kind of trick the ear and introduce maybe key changes or other chords that the ear wasn't expecting, but when it gets there it makes sense, and it's kind of nice. It's like a surprising resolution. I know there's a technical name for this device, and I'll look it up before that next video to talk about it, but that's for a different video. Anyways, try that stuff out. Try mixing and matching that with your 5 chord anywhere, so your diminished chord anywhere too. And I hope that was enlightening.